Hey everyone, and welcome to Elsewhere in the Multiverse, the comic book podcast from Melfuzz TV. I am Peter, that is Connor over there.
Yes, it is. I forgot I meant to talk on this one.
Yes, so we talk about comic books, not DC Comics, not because we don't like DC Comics, but because we love DC Comics, and we already started a DC Comics podcast a long time ago called Comics from the Multiverse. This is our companion show in which me and Connor talk about other comic books we're talking about, that we're reading from other publishers. Obviously, there's a lot of Marvel, and there's a sprinkling of other things as well. Coming up on this week's show, we have The Magnificent Miss Marvel, issue 1. So any number we want to talk about from them. We have Amazing Spider-Man 17, the proper start of the Hunted storyline. We have X-23 issue 10, Winter Soldier issue 4, Wolverine the Long Night issue 3. Car's going to talk about Star Wars Age of Republic, General Grievous issue 1. We're going to talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer issue 3, the hit comic book series. We're going to talk about Blackbird issue 6, at least Connor will be. And then also this week we have a couple of Patreon picks. Some of our patrons can make us read things. We're going to do those this week because it's a quieter week. So I'm going to be talking about X-Men issue 1 from 1963, and Connor's going to be talking about Generation X issue 1 from the mid-90s. So
This is very unfair.
so I'll explain more about why we're doing that later when we get to it. But that's what's coming up on the show this week. So welcome all. Welcome to comic book nerdiness and things. We do have some news though. We have some news. We have Marvel solicits to look through.
Yep, it's that time of the month.
Yeah, so I'll start with the non-Marvel thing first, just to quickly sort of get this out of the way. There's a little bit of Buffy news. New artist coming to Buffy the Vampire Slayer on Boom's comic. Starting with issue 5, David Lopez is going to be taking over the book, which is not surprising given that Dan Mora is going to be joining what's his face, Gillen on a book.
Gillen, I think it's called Once and Future something?
Yeah, it's coming in the summer. So
August, I think it's coming, and we didn't talk about it because you were an awful person and put it in the news. But it looks great. He's doing a King Arthur book. But modern day.
I cannot be less interested in that.
You're going to read it anyway.
We'll see. So this was expected. Boom typically do their trades in 4-issue arcs. So issue 5 felt like a really obvious place where the new artists would be jumping on. So it makes sense.
It does, yeah.
It makes sense. He has worked in the past on Captain Marvel, X-Men, and All New Wolverine. And I'm a fan of All New Wolverine, and I don't remember.
So yeah, we must have experienced his work at some.
I couldn't tell you what issues were his from memory, but
I don't recall any particularly bad issues.
Yeah, so makes sense.
I think the biggest question is it going to be a jarring shift of style rather than the quality objectively being good or bad?
I wonder if they're going to rotate for every arc. I wonder if that's going to be a thing.
It could be, yeah.
Make every arc feel like an episode of the show, almost like every episode has a different
director.
Yeah,
almost.
Kind of thing.
Okay, I'm with you.
I think they could do something with that.
Good.
But yeah, and then the other thing, so jumping into Marvel, we'll start with the separate news before we get to solicits, but big deal for some people, although not for me and Connor, is that Marvel are teasing that Hickman, as in Jonathan Hickman, is possibly back at Marvel and doing a book. And then there was an update to this where apparently at C2E2 the weekend, this coming weekend, they're going to announce whatever it is. And apparently the rumors, the buzz, is that it's going to be an X-Men book.
Yeah, so we'll get the details next week.
Yeah.
But
I'm
not going to be reading it, am I? Doesn't matter what it is.
I'm willing to do the first issue just to see. But I warn you now, I have not been a Hickman fan with anything I've read of his.
I've tried his Avengers. I've tried his Fantastic Four. I've tried at least 2 or 3 of his, his independent books.
Do you know what I'll say about Hickman? I think he does a really good first issue. I loved the first issue of Manhattan Projects. And I thought, this is going to be great. Yeah, I was like, this is going to be great. I dug this a lot. Every issue after that for the first trade, I hated more and more. By the time I got to the end, I had no interest in reading any more of it.
I never got past the first issue.
I liked the first issue. And the first issue of his Avengers was pretty good, I thought. And then it just got weirder. And
people rave about his Fantastic Four, so I went and tried that.
Yeah.
Nope, not for me.
No.
And this is why I'm probably not even going to bother trying it because I know I don't like it.
I'm on to try it for the show, but I'm telling you right now, the chances of me wanting to read past issue 1 or 2.
Well, I know, by what you've just said, you'll read issue 1 and you'll go, I'll try issue 2, and then hate issue 2.
Yes, that's probably what's going to happen. but I'm willing to do that for the sake of trying it for the show, just in case it's a surprise.
Okay.
Because I'm dedicated. Like that.
Yeah, well, you didn't commit to reading Once and Future a minute ago, did you?
What's that?
The Gillen book.
Okay.
You didn't commit to reading that.
Damn it, potato. So yeah, we'll look at solicits. Let's look at the solicits for June. This is Marvel solicits for June. We have issues 5 and 6 of War of the Realms. Not a lot to say here. Expected.
Yep. I mean, all we know is that this is going to be pretty much the ending of Aaron's Thor run, right?
Yeah, we know that. Yep. It's also worth mentioning most of the minis are finishing as well, but 1 or 2 have an issue left. So I imagine a couple of the minis have got like an epilogue issue that kind of takes place after the main event.
What has an issue left?
Hold on. Oh, they're double shipping. Never mind. I assumed there was only 1 issue of some of these. They're all double shipping. Never mind. They're all ending.
No, they're rushing them out. Don't worry.
Yeah, they're all rushing out. See, I thought they were going to be like 3 issue minis because it was 3 months, but a lot of them are 4 or 5, and they're just double shipping for like 2 of the months. The bastards.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna kill us.
Shit ton of those. Obviously, you got Thor, you got Champions, you got your Avengers, Captain Marvel. I'm looking for something that's new. Where's the issue ones? Damn it! I'm sure there's some
a little
interesting
bit further down. Captain Marvel's double shipping that month.
Okay, because that's not been up until now.
I didn't think so, but it's got 6 and 7.
Oh well, the book's growing on me. I like Kelly Thompson. I ain't going to complain.
No, not me either.
I wonder if that's the movie boost. Like, oh, all of a sudden the movie's doing well, so
could be.
Yes, get that book pumping out as quickly as possible. So we have a Black Cat issue 1. This does not say of something, so this at least appears to be an ongoing.
It is, because the first thing it says is all new ongoing series,
oh, there
and
you
then
go.
The Black Cat is back and starring in her first ever ongoing series.
Look, clearly I've not looked at these solicits before this show, okay? Right? What do you want from me?
But a cursory skim.
Black Cat's a fun enough character, and who have we got here? Jed Mackay and Travel Foreman. Didn't Jed Mackay do that Daredevil mini that we hated?
He did, yeah.
I'm less interested. I'm less interested.
I like Travel Foreman though.
Travel Foreman's alright, but like, you know, that does make me. Now, admittedly, I do think that miniseries for Daredevil was a bit of a thankless like sort of job, because it was like here.
It was an obligation. We need Daredevil this month.
Yeah, he's in a coma, so you're doing a story where he's in a coma the whole time. Like,
but it was kind of awful.
It may not be his fault though, so
it might not. We'll try it.
So we'll try issue 1 of Black Cat. We'll see how that happens. We have the start of a new miniseries, Silver Surfer Black, issue 1. This is a 5-issue book. Donny Cates is writing with Trad Moore on the art. Trad with 2 Ds. That is such like a jock bro name, like in like California. Like, I'm Trad.
It is, and I would give him shit, but I haven't quite liked Trad Moore's art.
I'm not familiar with his art, but that's fair. Do you know what bugs me about Marvel? I hate how very rarely the interior artist seems to be doing the main cover. That bugs me. Because I was going to say, I'll look at one of the covers to see what his art looks like. Oh, no. They're all...
Yeah. Can't help you.
Oh, no, he actually did do one of the covers. I don't know what went it, though. I'm sorry. There was 3 variant covers. Oh, sorry, 4. No, 5. There's 5 variant covers. I got confused by the number of variant covers.
Yeah, that's fair.
Ooh, we have a Incredible Hulk Last Call issue 1.
It's just a one-shot.
It's just a one-shot. It's Peter David, though. I do like Peter David. That said, if it's harkening back to his run, which I do want to read at some point, I've not read it yet, so I don't know if this is something I should actually read.
Yeah, I believe that's the point, and it's the artist is one of the main ones from his run as well. So it's kind of a little bit of a reunion of sorts.
That's what it is. Did we not forget to talk about Savage Avengers last solicits? I feel like we did.
We definitely did, because we forgot to talk about it when it was announced, and then you went, it's fine, we'll talk about it when it gets to the solicit. And then we didn't, which was a bit weird, yeah. Because it's a big deal. Conan is on an Avengers team, and they're all stabby. That's the theme of the book, and that's coming from the writer. They're all stabby.
I can't say I'm super excited by this.
No, I did see that Conan got introduced in No Road Home, like the last issue of that, into the the main Marvel universe. So they're kind of starting to deal with that. So this is where it's showing up next.
Okay, I don't know. I'm I mean, I don't really read much Jerry Duggan, but like the name doesn't inspire like excitement.
No, me either. But I mean, I'll give it a try.
And you know, I'm not really into Conan as a character, so.
No, but he'll probably be diluted, right? Because you got Conan, Wolverine, Punisher's there.
We'll see.
Maybe it'll be alright.
Just skimming down this list a little bit more.
God, so much shite that they publish.
Spider-Man Annual Issue 1 featuring Spider-Ham, which I think is notable because there's not actually a book right now called Spider-Man, is there?
No, there's not. You're right.
So this is a Spider-Man Annual featuring Spider-Ham. You got Jason Latour in there.
Yeah, he's writing it as well.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I could see the fun here of doing a little one-shot with Spider-Ham.
Yeah.
I can't begrudge it. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to want to read it, but...
They've extended Hunted.
They've extended Hunted?
Amazing Spider-Man 23. Hunted now runs through Amazing Spider-Man 23.
All those extra dot issues weren't enough to extend it?
Apparently not.
Oh dear. I wonder if these are actually epilogue issues, but like they decided just to call it whatever.
It might well be. I mean, we'll see when we get there, to be fair, because we're going to be reading it, aren't we?
Yeah. One issue from issue 20, as if 25 is a landmark issue. I'm sorry, Marvel, you reboot the run so often that 25 means nothing. It means nothing.
Yeah, it does. Marvel numbers in general mean.
Yeah, they mean nothing. Just scrolling down a little bit. Spider-Man Reptilian Rage issue 1. Is this a one shot? Yeah, it's a one shot.
Yeah.
Ralph Macchio and that's not a Karate Kid Ralph Macchio, right?
No, it's not.
Oh, good. Just checking.
We've said like 4 books that he's been writing since we started this show, like one shots and little things, and this is the first time you decide to question that.
So you claim. Guardians of the Galaxy is getting an annual with the usual writer Donny Cates is there, but it also has Al Ewing, Tinny Howard, Zach Thompson, and Lonnie Nadler there as well.
Probably a bunch of short stories then.
Probably. We'll see if I'm still reading Guardians by then.
Yeah.
Even if I am, well, I want to read this. I don't know.
I like at least 2 of those writers, and Tinny Howard has a lot coming up, so maybe I'll have a better, handle on what I can expect from her then.
Howard the Duck issue 1 facsimile edition. This is a reprint, by the looks of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. I wish Marvel or DC's alphabetical, which is nice.
Yeah, this is all over the place, isn't it?
And it's not even like they put all the issue 1s at the top. No.
Image do that, don't they? All the issue 1s at the top, and you're like, okay, that's something at least.
Wolverine Exit Wounds issue 1. Wolverine Legends Chris Claremont, Larry Hama, and Sam Keith reunite. Is this a new ongoing? Doesn't say one shot.
Something.
Yeah, it doesn't say one shot. Doesn't say of something.
I'm going to quickly Google it and see if there was a press release about it.
I imagine it's a mini, though. I can't imagine this is an ongoing.
You would think, wouldn't you? That's just a preview pages. Here's an article about it. There's nothing that says it's a mini. Oh no, it's a one shot according to this.
All right. Well, then I'm going to complain that Marvel have labelled some of their one-shots, and then some of them not.
Yeah.
Just for the record, FYI.
Major X is coming to an end. It's only going to be 6 issues.
110 copies of Age of X-Man and variant books. could get rid of that crap. And then moving on from there...
Is there anything interesting left?
A bunch of Star Wars. Star Wars is always at the bottom, right? Yeah. Before it goes into the trades. Yeah. That's us.
Yeah. I'm just... that's the final issue of Gillen's run. It doesn't have a final issue tag on it, but I know Marvel are a bit inconsistent about actually putting that, right? So we'll see next month whether or not there's going to be another issue. I will say I'm pretty sure it usually double ships, although maybe it doesn't. I don't know anymore.
Marvel Universe by Rob Liefeld Omnibus.
Who's asking for that?
I'm good. Well, don't oversize Immortal Hulk, Volume 1, issues 1 to 10.
Yeah, go on then.
That's cool. That's
I like oversized. It's pretty much in terms of physical. Like I buy a handful of single issues, and everything else I get digitally, except hardcovers and omnis, like oversized hardcovers and omnis. It's basically okay if it's got nice oversized art is a reason for me to buy it, or particularly good value with an omnibus maybe. I don't buy paperbacks anymore.
That is fair. That's fair. All right. Well, there you go. That's solicits. That's that all wrapped up. That didn't go on for too long. I think the last time we did that was like 30 minutes of.
It's because they had about 100 number ones.
That's true.
No, we had all the War of the Realms stuff as well.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, that was a more streamlined edition, which means that we can actually swiftly move on to the comics themselves from this past week. And we're starting off with an issue 1, and we got the Magnificent Miss Marvel issue 1 by Saladin Ahmed and Minkyu Jung. Kicking off this new era of Miss Marvel.
Yes.
I read the first 2 trades of the original G. Willow Wilson run. I've got I've got everything but the last one on Comixology to read. So
I had not read a single issue of Miss Marvel. I read a handful of issues by Saladin Ahmed, so I'd got like a handle on him at least, and there's been ups and downs. So I went into this not sure what to expect.
So I have a bit of familiarity, but I'm not necessarily up in everything that's happened in the run. How it ended. Where was Miss Marvel with her family and that sort of thing. Because that's one of the things that comes up is like her mother knows who she is, and in this issue she's told her father, and that kind of creates this friction. Which is interesting because it creates this dynamic where you've got this teenager where both her parents know she's trying to be a superhero and are trying to forbid her from doing such, which is kind of one of the main like thrust of the issue. Did you like this first issue though? How did you feel about it?
I'm conflicted. I like a lot of the ideas. It's so clunky though. I feel like so much of this issue is exposition of here's what Miss Marvel is doing right now. Here's where she is in her life. And I'm like, can I just have a recap page?
Do you know, I think this is issue 1 syndrome. I think this issue is largely... I mean, it sets up a couple of things that obviously are going to be important, but I think this issue is largely just, hey, we're assuming that a lot of people are trying this as their first Miss Marvel issue with Kamala Khan. We're going to explain who she is.
And that's fair, but there's better ways of doing it. Like, there's a point where she tells her origin story to her best friend. I'm like, really? I mean, come on.
Because we have this storyteller narration from the future. This alien telling his daughter a story of this hero that came to their planet a long time ago from Earth, and he's talking about Kamala Khan, and it gives it some nice kind of like texture around like her fighting some random villain dude.
I wasn't keen on it. It kept doing this thing where it was like where it would say one thing and then the actual reality would contradict it. But it kept doing it, and it kind of became like, yeah, I get it. It's supposed to be funny, but it wasn't.
Overdid it a little bit. I don't know. I think you had more problems with this than I did. I mean, did you like the characters? Did you get a feel for who they were?
Honestly, I didn't get a feel for them because I found so much it was just them doing exposition. I didn't really get a handle on any of their voices.
I think what's interesting here, though, having read some Miss Marvel, is because I already know who most of these characters are. I think a lot of this played better for me because
I think you can see who they're meant to be a bit easier.
Because I like her dealing with her parents. That was a thing right from the first issue of the first run. That this is ingrained into who like this character is and what our book often deals with. So her actually dealing with the fact that her parents know and are trying to forbid her felt like a big deal to me. Even though I've like skipped a big chunk of it right now, I will go back and read the rest of that run. But that felt like a big deal to me in this issue. And her like running off to like deal with this wolf monster.
Yeah, I like the design of the thing.
Yeah, he's pretty cool, and yeah, the art's pretty good actually.
Yeah,
it's got a very specific style that I think fits this book.
Colors are occasionally a little bit too flat, and occasionally the backgrounds just become one block color.
It does that a few times. It's got an energy. It feels like there's a whenever she's like doing her punching, whatever, there's a lot of speed lines and that kind of thing, and just a general momentum to what's going on.
I agree with that.
I also I like the fun of like the monster like turns into goo at the end, and it's kind of disgusting, and they're not really sure why whatever she's fighting is turning into goo.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big plot pieces set up. However, she runs home, and then the big cliffhanger at the end is that at least what seems to be her parents also turn into this goo.
Yes.
Almost T1000-esque, but the reverse, where they just kind of melt.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the big cliffhanger. So I'm going to assume this is not really her parents, or it's an illusion, or whatever. Like, is Mysterio fighting her or something? I don't know.
Yeah, you expect there's something going
Yeah.
because it's a comic book cliffhanger, right?
But I feel like they're, it does feel like it kind of naturally fits into what Wilson was doing, from what I read, where it feels to be sticking to the idea that she still has to deal with her parents, with her close friends, with her family. She's got this strong supporting cast. The sort of thing that, because you read Champions issue 1, you didn't get any of that in Champions. Champions, she's just with the other heroes.
Yeah.
But this was always kind of what her book was. It was kind of the. I remember the first time I ever tried Miss Marvel. Someone said, "Oh, you like Ultimate Spider-Man? You should try Miss Marvel," because it has that similar kind of teen thing where they have to deal with their high school life. They have to deal with all these things going on. But because of her upbringing, because of her family's religion, there's some different facets to it that make it kind of interesting. Like, I remember some of the early issues, like dealing with her, like, not necessarily always being into the religion that her family's into, or not necessarily wanting to deal with it and thinking it's stupid, or whatever. So that's for me. I thought it was quite promising. I agree there's maybe too much exposition, because it does kind of go overboard and try to make sure we understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But overall, I think the voices for the characters sound kind of right. Miss Marvel herself in particular, and I like the art. So I'm feeling quite good going
Fair
forward.
enough. I'm willing to give it another issue to see if it fixes some problems. Like I said, I think if you already know the voices of the characters like you do, it's probably easier to recognize them. To me, it just felt like they were giving me exposition. I didn't feel like I was getting any character from them.
I think that's bizarrely. Didn't you have that same problem with the first Miles issue, and then it cleared up with issue 2?
Issue 2 was a lot better, but that's Ahmed as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is a very similar.
Yeah.
Maybe you just don't like his issue 1.
Maybe I don't. I definitely like issue 2 and 3 of Miles more than I did the first one. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I like her as a character a lot, though. So I'm happy to be on board from the start of a series.
I have very little opinion on her as a character. I mean, I understand that most people are really happy that she's there. I get that, but I've never read anything. But this is literally my first issue with her. Barring an issue of Champions, which barely counts. This is my first real encounter with her properly, and I don't want to judge her on this because.
And for the record, this alien thing, the interest at the start is, as far as I know, completely new. Like, this was never an ongoing thing. At least from the 2 trades that I read, this seems to be a new element that's been added.
Makes sense.
Firefly, you're digging your claws at my shoulder. I'm trying to move you.
Told you cats are evil.
Goddamn cat. Alright. So, moving on then to...
Wait, no.
Oh, rate it. We need to rate it. You're right. We need to rate it. Miss Marvel issue 1, what are you giving it?
6.
I will go with 7.5. I agree with the too much exposition, but I generally liked it. I think maybe it is a fault that it's not actually, despite the fact that it's going out of its way to make it easy for new readers, it maybe doesn't actually give you enough of the character itself.
It's too much. Here's the backstory, and I'm like, give me that later.
But yeah, so 7.5 for me. Next up is Amazing Spider-Man issue 17. This is Nick Spencer writing, Humberto Ramos on the art. The start of Hunted Proper, where Spider-Man goes to that beacon that the Black Cat left for him and gets himself nabbed. In fact, we actually end the issue with him being dragged away by everyone.
So, first thing.
Yes.
This makes that HU issue even more redundant.
Okay.
Because obviously a lot of my complaint was it ended at the same place the last one did.
Mm-hmm.
This one condensed that entire issue of, okay, Black Cat did this, she got captured, trying to save the kid, into about 3 panels. And I was like, yeah, that's good. I didn't need to read that last issue.
I will disagree because I think the actual moment of her making the choice was actually a proper story beat. If you just had this recap, you don't get any of the feeling from it. It's kind of what you just said about Miss Marvel. It's just a bit of backstory.
Yeah, that's fair.
The actual drama of the moment only works because it actually got an issue devoted to it. Is it necessary to follow the main story? No, but like if you like that beat, then it worked as a beat.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Cat, move your ass. All right.
There was actually just on the HU issues.
Yes.
There was one of the letter in the back mentioned how all the HU issues are just basically a different character during this. So I feel like I'm probably going to skip them. So 16 was that. 18 it skipped for some reason. 19's Lizard. 20's Vulture. 18 is about Gibbon. Whoever Gibbon is.
Okay. So when Spider-Man goes to check the location, they're already moved, right? But Craven's one son, his one clone son that killed all the other clones, shows up and fights Spider-Man. And Spider-Man's sick, of course. Do you know what? I still feel like that sickness came out of nowhere, and it almost feels like it only exists to explain how he gets beaten in this scene.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does feel that way.
And also, he gets gassed in this scene. Isn't that enough?
That's true. No, it does. He gets gassed, and then they take him away, and it ends with him. And what I do like about this issue, though, is that it kind of turns the premise on its head a little bit, because it sounds like from this issue that Kraven actually wants Spider-Man to kill him because he's the only one who can kill him.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, it sounds like he wants to provoke Spider-Man into defending himself.
It's a bit of duality. You know, Kraven says, "Oh no, this time I'm not the one hunting Spider-Man," right?
Yeah.
And I think that plays both ways. As Spider-Man's going to hunt him, and also, but his son is going to hunt Spider-Man. Like, you know, I'm not the one hunting him, but my son is. But I think it's a bit of both.
But he talks about the curse and how like only Spider-Man can kill him, and he wants. It's like he wants to finally go.
Yeah.
So I think he's using Felicia as bait because he wants Spider-Man to ultimately come for him. But I mean, the issue ends with, you know, Spider-Man wakes up in the dome. They turn on the big shield in Central Park, and he's in there with the villains, and they're fighting him. And then all of the game hunters, all the rich idiots who have paid for the right to hunt all these people, come in.
Yeah, I like the beat that all the villains are there like, oh, Spider-Man's here, ripe for the taking. Let's get him. And it's like, guys, come on, bigger problems.
Yeah, for a couple of minutes, a lot of them are like, oh, you know what, this isn't so bad. Let's just kill Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I've actually read Kraven's Last Hunt, which is probably the biggest notable Kraven story that they've ever done. And him being in the black suits, I think that's a cult, because that's the suit he was wearing during that era of that story.
Yeah, cool.
So him being put in that suit, I think, is very intentional. You know, by Kraven, it's like, no, this is the time I almost beat you.
Yeah, this is our thing.
Yeah. Because Spider-Man, I mean, it's been all since I've read it now. It's been a few years, but you know, there's a great, you know, Spider-Man gets buried and comes back to, well, doesn't necessarily come back to life, but you know, he actually has to come out of his own grave. There's a whole panel of him like digging his way out of the grave and the hand coming up and all that, and but it's a good story. It's actually a really good story. But I felt like the black suit was making me think of that, and I thought it was like, it's convenient I've read that story because this moment's playing much better because of it.
There's very little Spider-Man I've read before this. Pretty much, I think the only story I might have read, you know, probably outside of every so often I'd have tried the previous run, when it renumbered.
As you do.
Yeah. Well, I thought, is this a jumping on point I can check out? It never was. I think the only story I properly read might be Spider-Man Blue, which is excellent.
I've had that in Comixology for years and still not read it.
That one's excellent, so I recommend that one.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean that's basically the issue. So complaints aside, those nitpicks aside, I generally like what it's doing with the story, and I think the extra element that Kraven wants to die, and that's his motivation, actually makes this a little bit more interesting.
I agree. I also agree this would be way better if it was Kratos.
Spider Boy.
That'd be good. No, I think the biggest problems are just the conceptual things like the sickness. Just why is he sick? Why? It's just because. But I like the flow of it, even if it's very much segregated into two halves.
I
You have
like,
all the Craven stuff at the front end and then the back half.
yeah, and a continuation of the stuff from that HU issue. I do kind of like Black Cat, like kind of reluctantly comforting the kid.
Yeah, fair enough. I get that.
Yeah, it's a sweet moment. But yeah, it's a longer issue, but this is a $5, like 40-pager.
Yeah, I will say it went in quite well quickly still, given that
Yeah.
it is longer.
But I think Miss Marvel was longer as well. Actually, was it?
I don't think it was.
Oh, well, at least this was. I didn't feel
Which is why it's unusual because, Marvel issue 1, I expect it to be longer and bigger.
That's true. How did you feel the art?
Yeah, I'm alright with it. I like Ramos well enough. I think it could do with some tighter inks. There's the odd.
For me, it was occasionally I thought the coloring felt just a little flat in some characters.
Yeah, there's the odd anatomy beat here, like with some of the villains, Tarantula and Scorpion.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was Scorpion and a couple of other villains at the end that was sticking out to me more than anything.
Yeah, Tarantula is the guy in red. There's a panel with him in some shadows. It's the page after Spidey wakes up in the black suit. There is some awkward colouring and inking going on there.
The art does feel a little bit 90s, actually.
It does, yeah.
Looking at him waking up in that black suit, this looks really, not just because he's in the black suit, but just the actual, the heavy ink of it and all that just looks very 90s to me.
No, I'm with you. It's not bad, though. It's got a flow.
Yeah.
I like him on the last couple of issues, so.
I wonder why.
No.
Although Bachello wasn't on the last one.
No, it wasn't. I like that. I'll be honest. I like that one. I was thinking the HU issue and the Bachello issues.
Yeah. All right. What are you rating it then? Spider-Man 17.
I'll give it a 7.
Well. Yeah, I'll give it a 7 as well. I was tempted to go a nudge higher, but I'll go with a 7. That'll take us on to X-23, issue 10, Mariko Tamaki writing with Diego or Olortegui on the art. I've probably said that a different way every time I've said his name. So, issue 10, we ended last issue with Laura trapped with the clone bots. Gabby charging in with... did we have a name for her, actually? I can't remember.
I feel like we saw it on her chest.
We did. I think we did. Yeah, but the main clone bot had a name. But yeah, so Laura's like talking to Chandler, and he's monologuing and being all villainous as you do, basically maniacally laughing.
Standard.
As it does. And the fighting ensues, and a lot of this issue is a fighting issue. Gabby and that show up, and they help, and it's kind of delightful, and the way X-23 often is. Yeah,
it's pretty good. Action sequence art looks great.
Fastball special really got a chuckle out of me.
Yeah,
do you know what I think it is?
Grinning as it is.
Yeah, I think it's her grin. It's Gabby loving that she's doing a fastball special that makes it work. Yeah. That's really nice.
I like that. Even to her, it's a thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so the idea that all the bots are designed to die, like the idea that they can't last too long, and that's good for both the sense that they can't grow a conscience, but also good for the fact that there's more demand. They have to keep buying more bots.
Yeah, it's that forced obsolescence.
Yeah. But we do have this kind of heroic moment out of the main bot, who does help Gabby and does make a choice to kind of sacrifice herself. Which is delightful. Actually, Joe, I like that panel of like all the bots downstairs trying to get up to the control room where Gabby is. It's almost like that scene in World War Z where all the zombies are like climbing over the top of each other.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like that. It's like really sort of big, like, oh shit, they're just swarming at her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she goes. Yeah, bot goes and helps Laura, and is with the helicopter with Chandler. And Chandler appears to die. The helicopter blows up.
Seemingly, yeah.
I mean, there is a panel of like fire around what appears to be his eyes. So I mean,
there is, which tells you a lot about comics that I still don't trust it.
Still don't trust it. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
the art's been very very consistent. The last few. I mean, I think the book's been good at having like an artist for each arc at least.
Yes.
And this is very consistent with the previous. But yeah, so is Gabby trying to think of a new name at the end here?
I think so. Are we dropping the Honey Badger?
We better not be, because Honey Badger's great.
Because I thought that was like Scout. Scout's nowhere near as cool as Honey Badger.
Is she trying to name? Was she trying to name the bot? Maybe.
Maybe.
So she spelled it with a K.
Because that was it. It's that 2-ox. That's it. It's backwards, isn't it? It's Scout. That's the thing that was on the chest that we found last time.
Ah, quite right. That's what we're going to call her. Okay, I like that better then. I was worried she was trying to give herself a new name.
I did too, but do you know what my problem is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I said problem. My cynicism is, I think she might be taking that name anyway, like in memory of that almost.
Oh, I hope not.
Like it's like, oh, I can be Scout.
I will not change. She will forever be Honey Badger, and I will accept nothing else.
I'm with you. She's Honey Badger forever. You know, that's it.
Honey Badger for life. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a quick conversation because the first 2/3 of the issue are pure action, but I mean, it's
good action.
It's good action. Villains, chewing the scenery. Gabby's entrance is great. Fastball special, helicopter stuff. It was a really quick read, but it was an enjoyable read. It's one of those things where in the trade, I'm sure the flow issue will be great because this will just be the natural culmination.
This book's always enjoyable though, isn't it? Even when it's an issue like this where it's action. There's not a huge amount of meat to really talk about, but it's still enjoyable to read, and that's the important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So quick conversation on that one, but what are you giving it?
7.5. We'll go to 0.5.
I'm going this rock solid 8. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Rock solid 8. Which will take us on to Winter Soldier issue 4. Higgins writing with Reis on the art. We've been digging this. It's been odd how much I've been into a Winter Soldier book. I never thought I'd see it today.
I will say I think this is the weakest issue yet. It's not a bad issue. Just shifts gears a bit and a bit too drastically, I think.
It's I like it well enough. I think it's still pretty solid for what it's doing. It's the idea that Bucky's come to really care about this kid, and he's trying to make sure he doesn't get taken down. And it's like, Joe. Actually, I think the worst thing about it is that we find out that the dad was a bit of a criminal, bit of a bum. He was a con man and a thief, and he got out of prison. And there was a suspicion of how he found him so quick, and later on the twist is that someone from Hydra came to talk to him.
Put him up to it, yeah.
And I like that to explain why he found him so quickly, but I didn't like that in the sense that it was bringing Hydra back into it. I actually really liked the raw idea that his father was going to turn him down a worse path. Maybe not worse than Hydra, but worse than a genuine
worse than
path.
what Bucky would have done.
Yeah, because he's trying to turn him into a thief like him. Because he's immediately trying to say, "Oh, you've got fighting skills. You can help me rip off this card game that the mobster plays. The mobsters play." So I was like, I actually kind of like the idea of the moral dilemma of he is his father, but he's going to send him down this.
But Bucky's a better father figure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like it in concept. I think it's the least exciting issue, isn't it? It's got a lot of RJ and his dad just sitting there talking.
It does. I think the other problem with it is that a lot of the dad's dialogue feels a bit cliche because it is just the typical, "Oh, I'm changing, I'll start a new life," and he immediately doesn't. And there's nothing wrong with this plot necessarily, but it's maybe just it's so overdone that it's hard for any writer to make it different or interesting.
It is, and I think condensing it into just a single issue probably doesn't help.
Yeah, maybe that should be playing out whilst other things were happening with RJ.
Yeah, it feels so quick with the dad. Like they say, "Oh, I've changed," and then the next page is him setting up a card game that he's going to rob.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of those things where maybe this could have used 6 issues instead, because obviously the next one's going to be the last one. I think it's a 5-issue mini. So, is it ultimately we're saying it should have been spread out over issues, but obviously it can't be right now because presumably the last issue is going to be just the ending, whatever it's going to be. So,
yeah.
So it's a bit of a weird place for that. The art's good again, though. I mean, it's got less good action to do, so it's got less showcase moments.
Yeah. Shout out to the colouring though. All the reds and blues are popping.
Yeah,
they're looking great.
Also, great little scene with Bucky and a cat, which I appreciate. I like how the cat was on the metal arm, and then Sharon was petting it as well. There was something really true to life of sitting contemplating something with a cat in your lap. It's not just Bond villains, right?
It is. I was about to make a Bond villain gag, and then it's just Bond.
No, it's relaxing. Bucky's a gentle soul. He's a jester. You know,
What Pete's saying is he relates to the Bond villains.
I watched Captain America: Civil War last night for the first time since it came out.
Why?
Sorry.
Why? Like just randomly, or just?
Oh, okay. I watched Age of Ultron last week, and I'm going to do Infinity War next week. Just because Endgame's coming. So.
Oh, fair enough. I didn't realize you were working through.
It was just a few of the bigger ones that I've not only seen once, basically. I mean, I've seen Age of Ultron a couple of times, but it's been a while.
Did you do the first Avengers first, or not bother?
Well, because I watched that last year before Endgame, before Infinity War came out. So I feel like I'd seen that recently enough. But I'd only seen Civil War once. I've only seen Infinity War once, so I wanted to get those both in before. I still have the same problems with Civil War that I did last time. I think there's good elements about it, but there's other things I don't. The best thing about it by far, though, is the romance between Cap and Bucky. It's glorious. And then the rivalry between Falcon and Bucky about who's better friends with Cap.
Yeah. I have only seen Civil War 1.5 times. I gave up trying to rewatch it.
I mean, admittedly, I watched it with on live stream with people talking to me, so that made it easier to get through like the sloggy parts.
Because I tried to watch it in the run up to Infinity War. Because I remembered thinking, yeah, it was alright. I didn't love it. It was probably the start of me going off of a lot of the Marvel films.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, yeah, it was good enough. It won't be a chore, and then I couldn't even finish it.
I think it's a solid movie. It's a bit overstuffed, a bit bloated. And I think the actual Civil War part actually gets in the way of what the actual real plot is.
Yeah, it does.
And you're kind of the better fight, the more emotional fights at the end. You're kind of deflated by that point because you're
kind of exhausted. Yeah,
because you spent 40 minutes on that airport. Even though that airport, I mean, everything that happens in it's fun. Right? It's all fun, little beats and things happening, but
yeah. But by the time that's done, you're like, right, okay, I'm ready for the movie to end now.
Pretty much, yeah. So. But not bad though. It's not a bad movie by any means.
No, and I feel like it's funny that we've tangented into that on this book because similar feelings, right? Not a bad issue.
I do like Winter Soldier in that movie though. Like I do think he's solid in it. So
I'm not gonna argue that.
Yeah. So yeah. What are you rating this issue then?
6.5.
That sounds about right. Maybe a 7.
I could accept an argument for a 7.
Yeah, I'll give it a 7 still. I think it's still well put together enough. And at this point, I care about RJ and I care about Bucky caring about him even more so.
I think if this was an ongoing, I'd probably feel different. I'd probably have given it the 7 if this was an issue of an ongoing. But given that, okay, this is your second to last issue.
Yeah, okay.
Structurally, it's not working for me.
That's fair. But anyway, so that's Winter Soldier, which will take us on to Wolverine The Long Night, issue 3. Benjamin Percy and Marcio Takara on the art. So our 2 FBI agents are investigating individually, and then together we're dealing with the guy who owns all the shipping in the area. And he's got this son who's like this hunter dude who's like obsessed with hunting.
Langrocks is the family.
Langrocks, there you go. And then the other son who does the books, who I'm calling right now is the really evil one.
Naturally, right?
He's this quiet guy who comes out and says, "Oh, Dad, we've got a meeting," and I'm like, "No, he's the serial killer." I just said it immediately.
That's how these things go,
yes.
Right?
Immediately, I said he's the killer. So. Yeah, so they start piecing things together. We hear more of the answering machine messages that Wolverine left this woman in New Orleans, and they're hearing parts of it. This doesn't sound right. Why is this? But then we're hearing stories of Wolverine being arrested and knocked out and arrested, but there's no record of it. You know, we're hearing reports of these things, but
a bit of a bar brawl.
Yeah, so something fishy. The police are working with the Langrocks, or the police are working with someone, and it's suspicious. So. It's interesting. What I do like, I like how the first guy that he's talking to points out that there's been tons of, because one of the points we've had in the last couple of issues is that people think it's a bear attack, but there's only been like 10 bear attacks in the last 100 years. He's like, there's been way more than that. They just don't get reported.
Yeah, we just don't bother.
No one reports it around here.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, all right. So things aren't trustworthy.
Yeah. I will say this is the first issue where, because obviously I've listened to the podcast.
That's based
I
on.
was a big fan of that. Yeah. that Percy's adapting from his own work. This is the first issue where there was an element that of it naturally had to be condensed that I was disappointed in.
Okay.
And it was the son with the bear at the end of the issue.
Oh yeah,
where
he's chasing, he's running from the bear, and everyone's like, "Why don't you just shoot him?" But it turns out he's got a bear trap planted.
Yeah, and he comes out with the knife. And in the podcast, this was a huge thing at the end of one of these episodes. It was like a good 5-minute chunk of this chase, and then this fight and this brawl with the knife, and this like one-on-one, like, all right, let's get down to it. And it was such a big moment, and it was one of my favorite moments from the whole show. And this condensed it down to about 2 pages, and I was like, yeah, I mean, you got the basic point across. But it was one of the, where I get it, you had 10 episodes of half an hour each that's got to be condensed down to 5 issues of 20 pages. So some stuff has to go, but I'm just disappointed that it was one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah,
even though structurally in the comic it works perfectly fine.
Yeah, because here it's just a plot beat. It's not really that. It's not like this exciting thing on its own. It's the interesting part is that it's like, oh, a bear trap was used to kill one of the girls. So it's like, okay.
And, that's the thing. In terms of the comic, it's actually a fine beat. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's only disappointing as an adaptation.
My favorite scene is when FBI man's ironing his underwear with the. He wants these crisp firm underwear. That was just a little
she's like, I don't understand your programming.
Yeah, and after he get out of prison, they put him in the car with the hunter Linebrook.
Yes,
and he stabbed him. So we don't exactly know. Obviously, we're still building up this mystery. But it's interesting. So and then they think they've got the bear. One of the mothers is like screaming about it. And then the final, after we get the bear death itself,
it's that simultaneous alongside the bear hunt happening. They get the call going, "Hey, there's another attack."
Yeah, but the victim didn't die, and she's yelling, "Claws, claws! He had claws." Again, it's not Logan. This is clearly another red herring.
But it's very much pointing in that direction from their point of view. Given that they clearly know about Logan, right? They're here going, we know who Logan is.
Yeah.
This is pretty damning to them.
So I'm just going to say it. When does Sabretooth show up? When is it revealed that Sabretooth's around? Because my only explanation now for everything that's happening is that there's another mutant with claws running around.
I'm going to tell you right now, there is no Sabretooth in this story.
That's not denying that there's another mutant, though.
It is not denying that there's another mutant. But there is no Sabretooth.
All right.
What's funny is when this was airing, I spoke about it was before this. We started this podcast. It was when we were doing just the DC podcast, and I made a comment that ruined the ending of this for you and Matt, because you guys were like, "Well, we're not listening to it," and this was before they'd announced that they were doing this
I've
adaptation.
forgotten it though, so
you've forgotten it. It's quite funny where you're going to, given that I actually told you it's somewhere in your brain, but just not being you're just not aware of it. It is nice seeing knowing some of the twists and turns that are coming, seeing some of the foreshadow. I mentioned it in a few issues. There's one line of dialogue, again, won't say which one, but there is a line that actually made me laugh out loud when I read it this time. Went, oh shit, that was so blatant that I had no idea.
Okay. We got 2 left of this, right? It's 5 issues.
I believe so. Yeah.
I'm still digging it. I'm digging the mystery. It's kind of like Wolverine with a tinge of Twin Peaks. Not the weird part of Twin Peaks, but just the town.
The small town vibe. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I know season 2 is starting up soon, if it hasn't already, because they put them on Stitcher. I think it's Stitcher first, with like a paid version, and then they put them free for everyone else later, like a few months later. So I'm looking forward to listening to season 2 because I'm really into the audio drama anyway. But
yeah, I mean, I hope they adapt the next one as well, and then I can read the sequel.
I'm sure they will. Unless this one sells particularly badly, I see no reason why they.
Wolverine's in the title. It's fine.
Exactly. I'm
not
sure
worried
it's doing
about
okay.
it. I'm digging it. I think the mystery is interesting. There's a lot of facets. Admittedly, I had forgotten because at one point they mentioned the kids in the woods again. I thought, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, the Strawberry Kids.
Yeah, I forgot about the Strawberry Kids. It's like, oh man, they've introduced so many elements to this. They've got the boat attack, the girls are dying, there's a suspected bear, the Strawberry Kids. Now we've got this family, the Longbrooks. There's a lot of elements at play.
This is one of those things where, like, obviously I listened to this over 2.5 months, so it kind of, it sits in my memory a lot better, the story and the beats, because we talk all the time when we review TV, when we watch stuff weekly. You tend to learn to remember the things a lot better than when you just binge through something. So that kind of got stuck in my mind listening to it. So I'm a lot more familiar with the characters and the beats, the names more so than you are. So it's hard for me to come at this from an outside perspective and look at going, okay, that's feels like it's crammed in. Whereas to me, I'm like, oh yeah, that's just that's just I know where that's going, so it's fine. Whereas it does feel that when I look a bit more objectively, there is a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
Maybe some of the stuff should have been cut down, condensed a little bit more than it is.
I'll just have another issue or two to spread it out a little bit.
All that, yeah.
Still digging it though. That's a really solid issue.
Art's still real good.
Yeah, art's as consistent as it's been. So it's really hard to talk about art when it's just the same artist as the last issue, and it's like there's nothing.
It is, because they're not doing anything better or worse. I will say, I said the bear attack was maybe my most disappointing element. I think the art is at maybe some of its strongest when that bear is charging through the cave, after him.
He's got a good expression on his face when he pulls out the knife as well. Like you can tell
he's
he's a bit sick.
I've got this.
Yeah, he's enjoying this a bit much.
Yeah, he is.
So there you go. That's a Wolverine Long Night number 3. What are you giving it?
7.5.
I'll give it a solid A, I think. I'm digging this a lot. I'm actually surprised. This was one of those things where even though I like Percy, before I was like, it's an adaptation of a podcast, it's a mini, I'm probably not going to like this very much. And I actually really get into the first issue, and it's been pretty consistent. So
yeah, I'm digging it.
So there you go. Which will take Connor on to Star Wars Age of Republic General Grievous issue 1. Jody Hauser writing with Luke Ross on the art. So
yes, I'm just having a glance because read this a few days ago. Yes, this was so again, this falls into the category of being on the forgettable end of the Age of Republic ones. It's fine. It's
as opposed to the other end, which would be.
There's been a handful that were like, okay, no, that's a real good one. Like I've said this a few times. The one-shot format. We talk about all the time with anthologies as well, where you'll get like one memorable story. I feel the same about like these one shots where there's a handful that those are the ones that are worth reading. The others they're fine. They're not bad because it's Jody Hauser, but they're not necessarily memorable. This falls into that category. It's Grievous on a planet hunting down some Jedi, a little apprentice, and takes them out like a little chump. Presumably takes his lightsaber for his collection. That's fine. There's all these little bits, and he's on this planet where there's this ancient Jedi temple that's been abandoned, and he goes in and he's destroying all the statues as he goes because he can't stand the idea of them having their legacy. He's avoiding all these. There's a real nice montage in the art of him avoiding all these traditional ancient temple traps, like it's the spike trap and then the swinging trap, you know what I mean, the big like swinging mace that comes down, all that, those beats are in there, and it plays it a little bit now, because he's got his droid body, so he's like swiveling around and hooking onto the walls and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different than normally would, but essentially there's something at the center of this temple. There's like that's why he's there. There's like this secret, and it's kind of this like a green waterfall, and he puts his arm in and he's like, he can't feel anything. He's like, it must be a sensor error or something. But he goes in because it's like he can't feel anything in there. Nothing's working, and it becomes this surreal. It kind of looks like he's floating through space. Is the image he gets, and there's this voice. It's like, what are you seeking? Knowledge, power, truth, yada yada yada. And
the way to the bathroom.
It's kind of showing him who he really is. It shows him his original body before he transformed himself into a droid cyborg. It was just, here's what you really look like. Here's what you really are. All of what you're doing, it's kind of meaningless. It's like, you gotta make your own connection and your own strength. You don't understand that you're small and basically insignificant next to the power of the Force. To quote Vader, is essentially what this cosmic force being tells him. And he's kind of terrified by this when he gets out, and he calls in his ship and he's like, right, orbital bombardment, destroy that thing. And you get some beats from the Clone Wars show where the droids are questioning it and saying stupid things, and you get the Roger at the end, but saying a bit like, going, yeah, it's a bit overkill. Do we really need this? But ultimately they do. And he's like, all right, yeah, for all your talk of power, you burn just as easily, yeah. And he turns away and he walks off. But then there's a little shining light where the temple was, indicating that this thing presumably survived. I like the concept of whatever this thing is, this cosmic force entity. I would like to see more of it and see how it plays into a story in the future. In this story itself, it's kind of just a MacGuffin. It's just there. Doesn't really serve much purpose beyond something for Grievous to be going towards and to fight against at the end. It's probably one of the more forgettable ones of this. It's fine. Dialogue's all right. Some nice beats with like the droids, like the battle droids, like I said, being like they're just like the Clone Wars. So if you enjoyed that stuff, you'll still enjoy that. Yeah, art's solid. But it's been the same couple of artists, all of these, so to be expected. Yeah, it's 6.5.
Grievous might be one of the worst names in Star Wars.
I don't think I'm going to argue with that.
Because it's so close to grievances, right? Its origin just screams at you.
Yeah.
It bugs me.
I don't think I'll argue. I like Grievous in concept of a lot of the backstory stuff that's there. I like, but it's a name, definitely not. I mean, yeah, whatever. I like the story of the cough that he has. It was inspired because I think when they were on set doing that stuff, Lucas had, I think it was bronchitis, and was coughing a lot. So they just worked it into the character. That's it. That's the whole reason why he had, and it's one of his most memorable features, probably.
Palpatine's just a combination of palpable and serpentine. And I think
that'll be fine, except it's Palpatine.
Palpatine, okay. Palpatine. Tangerine.
To be honest, you were probably closer with your first guesses. But that's fine, because it sounds like a name. There's enough in there that disguises it from it's just these things, right?
Anyway, so that will move us on to the hit comic book series Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is issue 3 of the new series, and we go diving in. We ended the last issue with this weird vampire hating, killing bat thing that had been let out of the amulet or vase or whatever it was.
I think it was a vase.
Priscilla broke. Do you know what's funny? Like with each issue, it's like there's some things that are feeling more and more like Buffy, but there's other things where they're remixing
further and further away. Yeah.
It's like so. Giles is doing like guitar. He's playing guitar in one scene, and that's a thing from season 4. That's like something from much later. And Spike's first interaction with the whole gang is basically that he kind of has to have a kind of uneasy alliance with Buffy because this big bat thing is terrorizing.
Yeah. Do you know
things.
One of my small complaints with this book, this issue particularly, is you say, oh, Giles is playing guitar, and Spike's reaction is like, is that an Englishman butchering English classics? I'm like, yeah, that'd be great if I had any indication whatsoever of what he was playing.
You should have heard some of the lyrics, yeah. I say heard, this should have been on the page.
Yeah, but I've got like, okay, he's playing it. I get he's playing music, but I have no idea whatsoever what he's playing.
I will say, when Spike comes in after the big bat thing leaves the magic shop, I will say some of Anya's lines here started to feel a bit more like Anya. Like I was getting her voice a little bit with the way she was.
I agree. Although weirdly, I think the art is almost getting further. Like,
oh sure, yeah.
I know the first issue we said, oh wait, that's Anya. Even like it's sounding more like her, but it's looking less like her as it goes on.
Yeah, I feel like this is gonna have her hair tied up or something to make me, or to
That
cut it.
might help.
Yeah, shorter hair to make me think
I
more
think.
about.
Do you know what the problem is? I think in a lot of these panels, she looks a lot like Buffy.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think they could do with doing something.
Chop her hair a bit because she had shorter hair in some of the seasons.
She did. She had a bob cut, didn't she?
Yeah. Just give her that, and that'll be easier peasier. Or give her dark, because she started off as a brunette as well. When she first showed up, she was a brunette.
She did, didn't she?
Yeah.
That went away quite quickly. But it'd be something.
Her appearances in season 3 were all brunette. I think in season 4, yeah, she had. I mean, she was only in a couple of episodes in season 3, but. So it's like, yeah, it wants to kill vampires, and it's like, oh, this is great, but it's also terrorizing everyone else. So we have this weird alliance almost, just purely in chance. Although Cordelia ends up kind of being there as well.
I like how she's just shitting on Harmony the whole time. That felt in keeping.
It did. It felt like Harmony was being like more Cordelia. I mean, not that it's on the Harmony to do that, but it felt like she was being full Harmony Cordelia-esque. And it feels like Cordelia's trying to be better, but by the end, when the weird stuff all happens, she seems to like
revert into full Cordelia.
Yeah. It's like she's trying to be better, but like, and I knew this was coming. I was like, nah, she's going to turn the other cheek.
I'm with it.
I do like Buffy's surprise face at Giles playing guitar.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a good moment in the art.
It's funny because obviously we praise a lot of the expressions and capturing the actor's likeness a lot. There are some, especially with Buffy, that are like, holy shit, that is so close.
Oh, the one at the bottom of that page where she's got her fists up and ready to fight.
Honestly, I think the 2 pages later, so if you the top where she's saying, "What did you say?"
Yeah, it's a confused face. Even though, that's really good. I actually like this bat thing. I like that he's like, because what's this thing's name? Kamazots. Yeah, he's like, always helps Slayers, and she's like, "You're my Pegasus." Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? If you want to give Buffy this like mythical creature that's like her pet, I'm so for it.
I am too. My only problem is this is just Goliath from it's Damien's little bat creature.
I can see that. I think it's kind of in the way that we later in season 7 we got the scythe, the Slayer weapon, right? I kind of like the idea that there's a Slayer like steed.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
I'm kind of all for that.
They're fighting along, and Xander and Willow show up in fighting gear.
Yeah, like, oh, we wanted to help. Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was a bit quick to get to this.
Yeah, no, I get on board with that.
Them jumping out like right into the field. Xander's got his shovel and his boots, and Willow's got the baseball bat. I'm like, it feels a bit quick for them to be jumping right into it, like 3 issues in.
I think this is a symptom of. I think it's a symptom of we want to have them be the Scooby Gang as quickly as possible, and then just go from there.
I get that, but I feel like there was a way of doing that with integrating them into the, the behind the scenes stuff. Like Giles is going, "Hey Willow, bring this charm," right?
Yeah.
There's stuff there that you can play with them being the Scooby Gang without them having to be fighting alongside.
Do you know what I think it is? I think it's less the actual content of what's happening and more just how they've chose to frame it. Like having it be this heroic shot with the low angle looking up.
Yeah.
Him holding the shovel. I think it's like, no, we know that Willow's going to meet Giles anyway, right? So they're coming anyway. And let's be honest, it's a baseball bat and a shovel. It's not like they've went and armed up like they're in an action movie. They've grabbed convenient things that can be used as weapons.
They have.
So I think it's just because of the way it's not that the art's bad. It's like just conceptually they've chosen this to be. No, here's the hero
it's
allies.
The heroic entrance, isn't it?
Coming in,
and I don't think it really called for that.
Yeah. Do you know, I really just go before that. Before Drusilla grabs Buffy, because Drusilla shows up at one point.
Of course she does.
As you do. It's right after the Pegasus thing. Buffy's got this crying face. And I just think it's really good. Like it looks like Sarah Michelle Gellar crying.
It does.
But it's a goofy cry. It's not like a real cry. She's making a.
Yeah. No, the art's been pretty great in this book. Like I say, Anya is probably the only character where I'm like, wait, this is Anya. Yeah. Everyone else at least has one moment where it looks exactly like the actor every issue.
To be fair, Spike is consistently looking like Spike. I mean, it helps that he's kind of unique looking compared to everyone else, but like he does.
Yeah, Cordelia had one this issue. It's the page before Buffy picks up the broken guitar. It's right at the bottom. Is Cordelia? Where it's like, oh yeah, you're not from Sunnydale. To Spike. I'm like, yep, that looks exactly like her.
Yeah, and even what she's saying, I do like the idea that everyone in Sunnydale already is kind of aware of weird things happen here, even if they don't understand. It's a hell no thing.
Yeah, it's Sunnydale, isn't it?
Yeah, weird stuff happens. So no, it's interesting. So Willow's got the elixir thing, and Giles puts the
yeah, he talks to it. It's like, hey, like, cheers for your help, but not your time yet.
Yeah, so we're totally waking him up again, right?
In about 4 arcs time.
Some pivotal moment. We're going to have a moment where Buffy needs a giant bat to ride into battle.
Pretty much. I'm okay with that.
I am perfectly okay with it. Cordelia feels a bit more. This is the Cordelia part that I thought was really like her becoming Cordelia. Sorry, I thought I could be nice and friendly to everyone in Sunnydale, but all of you are too weird for me. And you, pointing at Buffy, you get everyone killed, whatever it is you do. I can hear the voice. Like that was like when I could really hear her voice coming in.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I think it's funny. There's a lot of things where the voice is starting to settle. The next page, Giles is like speech / apology to Buffy.
Yeah.
Is one of the times he's felt most like Giles, and Giles been pretty good throughout.
Yeah, he feels a lot like Giles in that. Yeah, I agree. And Buffy kind of jokingly going, too much sincerity, can't handle making a disgusted face. Again,
yeah.
It feels. I don't know if that panel itself looks like Sarah Michelle Gellar, but I can see her doing that reaction.
I can as well. I agree that it's probably not the most accurate looking. It's fine, I'm not going to like hold it against them for not looking exactly like that. I'd rather get the expression and the tone across than look exactly like them. I think we're only mentioning it because there are some panels that look like identical, right?
Yeah. So here's the other thing they've brought forward from future seasons is Spike and Drusilla's base is actually Spike's crypt from season 4 onwards, as opposed to the factory or opposed to the angel place that they live with in the end of season 2.
Yeah, and obviously as they've mentioned how Drusilla's replacing the master as well. It's not any of that sort of base stuff from the first season.
Yeah, so we have this. Also, Spike saying "my mistress." There does seem to be more of a dominant relationship going on here versus the show, so that feels a bit different. But yeah. So basically, Spike is like, "Oh yeah, we have to deal with the Slayer," friends. And they're like, "Yeah." So the cliffhanger is like, "Hey, we've got our phone, so we're going to go after our friends." So next issue, it looks like they're going after Willow and Xander. Yeah. So that's cool.
Which I also was a little weird about this issue, compared to the last, because the last two have had the narration.
Yes.
From Xander's diary log thing.
Yeah.
This issue had no narration boxes whatsoever, and it actually felt a little weird not to have any of them.
It felt quicker paced because unlike the previous issues, this was all set almost kind of in real time. It was like, okay, the bats escaped, and then Buffy gets involved, and it's all one big scene kind of from start to finish, barring the ending.
I say weird based on what the series said. I think I prefer it.
I think it'll be back next issue, because next issue, like I say, will be the last issue of the first trade. I think it'll wrap it round and bring that in a little bit.
Yeah.
And
like I said, I think I prefer it without them, though. I think it has a better flow. I think I'm not worrying about Xander's voice in those narration boxes.
Here's the thing: I don't think it's going to be sticking around for too long anyway. I think it'll come back to sort of wrap it up and finish the point of the story with Xander. But I think after an arc or two, I think it'll go away and that'll be it.
I'll be alright with that because I didn't hate it in the first 2 issues, but I found it flowed a lot better here without it. Like I said weird just because it was this is different, but
yeah,
I think it's better.
Yeah, no, I dug this issue a lot. Like I say, there's always 1 or 2 things. It's like, this is a bit of a remix compared to what the show was. But the more we get into it, the more it's like, hey, the voices are starting to feel more like the voices. Like I'm really, I feel like I'm in Sunnydale again. I'm having fun with that, and that's what I want from the book. I want to feel like I'm in Sunnydale and doing, adventures with these characters, because ultimately that's what I want. It's never going to live up to what the show did on a thematic level, because the show is this,
yada yada yada. Hit television.
Great piece of writing, yes. Hit television show, yes. But it's given me the voices of those characters. It's them being a group and battling the forces of evil, and this is kind of what I want. What are you giving issue 3 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
I think I will just about give it the 8.
There you go. I am going to give it the straight 9 because
it's Buffy.
because Buffy. You've heard because Batman. This is because Buffy. Damn it. So now we'll see how it goes. It'll be interesting to see how the new artist Lopez does with the characters.
Yeah, I'm really interested. Obviously, I'm expecting to move away from the looking exactly like them a little bit. I'm not opposed to that. It might help give it its own identity, because we keep talking about how some of these voices don't feel exactly right. I think part of that is because they look so similar, right? To if we just took this as a whole new version and they looked a little bit different, and we were like, okay, it's a different version, it might be slightly easier to swallow.
I don't think so. I think I'd have the same thoughts and feelings on the voices, regardless of what the art was. But yeah, so now
I think I would find it a little bit easier to forgive.
Because I would rather the voices be right and have the art just never look like the actors.
No, I would as well. Yeah. But I think if the art is not even trying to look like the actors, in my head, it's just a lot easier to accept that no, these are just different versions. We're doing something different. Does that make sense?
Kinda. Anyway, so that's Buffy issue 3. That will take you on to Blackbird issue 6. Sam Humphries writing with Jen Bartel on the art.
So this is the final issue of the first arc. So as you know, to expect, there's a few little big moments in here. We start actually with her. She's with the guy from the other group, Zon, I think they were. Who from the last issue was ended with her going, oh, maybe I'll join them and not go with her mother's family tribe. Tribe the right word? I don't know. Not go with their group. And he takes her to this liquor store. He's installed like a little safe room almost in there where he hides things from his family where he can, and he gives her a gem. And the whole thing with the Zon group is that illusion is their thing. But the flip side of illusion is truth. So they're actually quite adept in using the truth stones as well. So he gives her one of those. And he's like, look, if you really want to go and touch your mum, I'm not going to be able to stop you. So you might as well. But come back alive. It's this idea as soon as she steps into the boundary of her mother's territory, she knows exactly where she is and just drags her to her magically. It's this cool moment, and most of this issue then becomes the confrontation between them, which has been brewing for a while now. It's constantly her mother saying, I did this to save you. It's to give you a normal life, to save our family. And she's not buying any of it. She's not. And eventually she used the truth stone on her. And it's like, right, okay, you're going to... And the magic compels her to tell the truth. And it's essentially the night of the earthquake, which was, like 10 years ago, which she did die, and that was the ending of the last issue. And so what her mother did is actually summoned her own parents, so her grandparents. And it's this idea that she had actually been running away from the family legacy. She had become a Blackbird, which is where the title comes in. We finally learn what that actually means in this issue. It's a Blackbird is someone who was forsaken being part of any of the families. They're still a paragon. They still have their powers, and those are activated, but they are not part of any of the families or anything like that. They're kind of their own thing. So they become a Blackbird, and that's what she's doing. She's cut her family ties, and she's off on her own. But she summons her parents because her daughter's dead, and she's like, right, okay, you can save her. I know you can. But there's a price to be paid. And there's this implication is like that her parents did something awful, which is why she left. And doesn't quite get into it yet, and it hints at a little bit more later, but it's not fully confirmed. I got suspicions, which I'll get to in a minute. But she still doesn't want to accept all this, Nina. She's like, you're a paragon. You could be doing this. You've been a real shitty mom. What are you playing at? You could have told me. And then you picked my sister and invited her into all of this. And I was like, no, it's not like that. You don't understand. You're my favorite daughter. And there's a little bit of an implication in that, I'm gonna have to do. She says, "Oh, I have to do what my parents did." And the idea that she might have to sacrifice one of her daughters, and that's the idea that what her parents did. So maybe her brother or sister got sacrificed by her parents, and now she's gonna have to sacrifice one of her kids, and has chosen the other sister. But it ends with Nina. She leaves and kind of accepts who she is and accepts her full powers, and she stops being a Blackbird and joins the Zonkabal. And there's some obvious implications that the leader of them is saying to his son, who the one that she's friendly with, going, "Hey, I've got her in now. Her mother's screwed. Basically, we've got it." But then there's a final page here of this other Cabal, Polaris, claiming that they've pushed her into the arms of the Zonkabalion to drive this wedge between Zon and Iridium, which is her mother's. And the idea that they're going to okay, territory's open now, so it's free game that we're winning now. Kind of engineered this somehow. And it ends with kind of going, right, okay, no, this is magic's real, and this is where I belong. It's real good. There's some interesting little social commentary stuff early on. I mentioned that the guy from Zon had built a little bit of a safe room in this liquor store. The reason he did that is the owner gets robbed like all the time, and at one point he got shot. So and he didn't want to just sit there and watch this happen all the time. So what he did is he actually put a spell on the place where anyone who walks in with ill intent, if they they're trying to rob it, it becomes like this hallucination for them. They think they rob it, and they walk away thinking they've been all tough and robbed this shop, but they didn't. Nothing happened. The owner has no idea that this is going on. And Nina questions, what about all the money? That they think they're taking this money. Does it just disappear? And he's like, nah, we're rich. We don't care. They're gonna have the money. I just stock up the till all the time. And it's the idea that he wants to kind of reform a little bit. He wants to use their powers he wants to use the magic for the good of the general public, the city, and kind of have some social programs essentially. Rather than just being a territory gang war that the families currently see it as, which is some interesting place for the series to move into. Art's fantastic as always. Colors are great. Nina gets a new costume at the end. When she accepts her powers and becomes part of Zon, and looks great. Give a 9.5 overall.
Did she have a costume before, or is this a new thing?
I think she's had like a couple of little hints of a costume. Okay. More like she had street clothes that were arranged as a costume, like almost. Right. But this is a straight up like a magical paragon costume, like flowing cloak and all that.
All right, cool. Well, that wraps up the new books for this week. Now, we did promise last time that we'd be doing Gideon Falls. We did not have time. Things have been hectic. We've had tons of other stuff to record. Because we both have to read all of Gideon Falls from the start when we do it. It's going to come at some point. We just don't know what week it will be yet.
It will happen.
But we do have a couple more things to talk about this week, because it is a quieter week for new books. And because of that, this is the week we've both chosen to do our Patreon pick issues. So the way this works is that in patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, where you can go and support us for as little as $1 per month, there's some of the higher tiers are tiers where you can make me or Connor read a book. And we have one patron who picked the higher tier to make both of us read a book, picking different books for each of us. And the book that I'll be reading this month from this tier is X-Men issue 1 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. I think the intent is to educate myself on X-Men history. Started at the very start. You can't go any further back than this.
You really can't. I'm just. We'll get to why I'm annoyed.
Yeah, Cara thinks it's unfair that I got Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and he got Scott Lobdell. But that's...
I think that is very unfair. There is such a...
Do you know
Wait.
Do you know what the beautiful thing about this is? Is that you're forced to read 2 Scott Lobdell books on Comics from the Multiverse because they're both DC books. And I don't think that Serenity, our patron who selected this, I don't think he did this on purpose. I don't think he went, I want to give him a Scott Lobdell book. I think this is a wonderful coincidence that you just happen to have been given a third Scott Lobdell book.
I think it is. And, I hate you, Serenity. Lobdell. But, it's just how it goes. But I mean, I hate all our other patrons that made me read Lobdell as well, so you're not alone.
Yes. So yeah, 1963, first ever issue of the X-Men. Do you know what's weird about this? Is that this is so much denser than most other books we read for these shows because it's so old.
Yeah, it will be.
So this took me at least twice as long as any other book to read.
Have you read much Lee and Kirby stuff before?
Not much. Spatter and here or there.
Yeah.
You know,
I've read all of their Thor.
Okay, Silver Age Thor. That's cool.
Yeah.
So issue starts. Professor X is just on his own in the mansion. And he's just thinking to himself, well, he's not thinking to himself, he's projecting, he's calling out with his telepathy. He's like, attention X-Men, this is Professor Xavier calling. Repeat, this is Professor X calling. You're ordered to appear at once. Class is in session. Tardiness will be punished. And I'm like, okay, this is the gist of the X-Men, but the voice feels a little bit different to what I'm used to.
It's a smart way of, like, bear in mind, okay, issue 1, these characters don't exist.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting way of going, immediately, right, okay, this guy's telepathic. And he's the leader.
True. So out come Cyclops, Beast. Beast is not blue. This is him just with the regular skin, but he's still got the big feet, and he's very aerobatic with what he does. Yeah. Angel comes flying out. Cyclops is there, said an Iceman. Just the 4 of them right now because Jean's here. Comes in here, but she's like a new student in this issue. So Iceman's only wearing boots. He's like a snowman with boots. Which is relevant because later on he cracks a joke by putting a carrot in his face and pretending to be an actual snowman. It's a whole thing.
That does sound like Iceman.
Yeah. So there's bickering between the characters. Bobby like puts Beast's hand covered in snow and then he's like trying to punch him for it. So basically this first chunk of the issue is basically kind of cruel. Xavier's like wanting them to train, and he does this by basically forcing them to fight each other in little sneaky ways. Where he's like, we'll just let this happen, and we'll just let that happen, and they'll fight.
I mean, sounds like Xavier to me.
I don't know. This felt a bit more. I don't know. Just a little bit more.
No, I'll tell you who it feels like. Niles Calder.
It does. It feels a bit more Niles Calder than it does Professor X.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is.
Some wheelchair-based inspiration, I think, is going on.
So, basically, Bobby is pissed because Bobby's a couple of years older, and they mention he's 16, which I assume means the rest of them are all 18, give or take. And he's pissed because...
You said Bobby was a little bit older. Do you mean Bobby was a little bit younger?
Younger, sorry, yeah. He's pissed that he's not been trained as much as the others. Like, he feels like Professor X is thingy. So he telepathically tells Beast to throw a bowling ball at him. He's completely off guard. Now Beast, hurl that ball.
Okay, so he is a bit of a dick. I like this.
Yeah, he's a total dick here. Bobby does like a sort of like a ricochet like ice thing, so that the ball look back round at him, and it hits. Or it doesn't hit him. Beast actually does he catch it? It looks like he's going to catch it. Hang on. No, it hit him. It hit him in the ass. It hit him in the ass. He's going to grab it, but it hit him in the ass. And then Cyclops fights Bobby a bit with his old beam for the punch dimension. So here's where if there's any elements here that, other than just the general kind of dialogue and stuff that feel dated, it's kind of when Jean comes into the picture.
Oh dear.
The car comes up outside, and Professor X, what's the exact phrase he says? You may be interested to learn, at this moment, I sense a taxi approaching at their main gate. Within that vehicle is a new pupil, a most attractive young lady. And immediately I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's one of these things, isn't it? Where you have to acknowledge it was a different time.
Yeah, it's just like, it's funny though, because X-Men, by its core concept, is a very progressive idea for the time period, right? And it's clearly...
Yeah, and we're all well aware that Stanley was quite a good dude. Pretty progressive.
So it's just funny that even in this, like, you have this kind of writing where she comes in and immediately, like, they've all changed clothes into their, like, just civvies, and they're all like try to chat her up and, like, you know, help her. And here's some choice phrases here I'd like to repeat here, because Professor X mentioned she'll be called Miss Marvel, not Miss Marvel, Marvel Girl. Because he's like, oh, this is Scott's, or actually it's not even Scott, it's Slim Summers. He's not even called Scott yet. This is Slim Summers. He's Cyclops, and this is Hank McCoy's Beast, and so on. He's like, and this is Jean Grey. She's going to be Marvel Girl, and so Beast says, "How come he's calling you Marvel Girl, Miss Grey? What power do you have?" That one's not that bad. And then I think it's Angel who says she has one very obvious power: the power to make a man's heart beat faster. And then Bobby's like, you know something, Warren? If I had a line, I'd shoot myself. And then she's like, I think she's like doing her makeup or something. She's like holding something in front of her. It's a purse, yeah. She's like, you'll learn something more about me in time, boys. It's just the dialogue here is like, I'm like, okay, this all feels a bit,
yeah,
a bit rough. There's some fun stuff in here though, because Cyclops is going to get her a chair, and then she uses her telekinesis to, like, slide the chair across to her, and, like, Beast has to jump out the way, and, like, Cyclops is like, what happened? The chair flew right out of my hands. And then she's, like, moving books around and stuff, and they understand what she is, or what she can do. So it's fun. And then she actually makes Beast float, because he touches her face. He sort of, like, does the stroke in her face thing. Kind of creepy, actually. And then she just kind of, like, throws him out of the air. So it does have the nice spin where she's actually the most powerful person in the room, and she's constantly making them look like idiots.
Yeah.
So it does have that element to it.
So it's, as much as it feels dated and awkward, you could choose to read it as, this is what they think they're doing. And
yes.
Then it's the reality is she's got it under control.
Yeah, and notably, the only one who doesn't really do anything too bad is Cyclops, which I think is notable because obviously Jean and Cyclops end up, being a thing. So basically, Xavier's like, okay, so our mission is to work together and blah blah blah. Humankind, there's evil mutants out there, and they want to destroy humankind, so we have to fight these evil mutants. Blah 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 blah. Right, and it cuts to Magneto, who's already got his helmet. I don't know if they explain this later why he has his helmet.
Because it's cool.
It's cool, but obviously the purpose is that it blocks telepathy.
No, I know that, but it looks cool, and that's all that Kirby needed.
But that's not in this, right? Also, I love the phrase here. He's like, my first phase of my plan shall be to show power, to make Homo sapiens bow to Homo superior.
Sounds like Magneto.
I believe the phrase Homo superior is uttered a lot in these early X-Men books, so brace yourselves for that. So he's using these powers to mess with some rockets that are taking off from NASA.
As you do.
And they keep going, what? We looked over that rocket 100 times. There's nothing wrong with it, damn it. And the army's like tanks are like turning and all the rest of it. He's just causing, and then he uses magnetic particles to write a message in the sky saying "Surrender the base, or I'll take it by force." And then he actually signs it in the sky at Magneto with like more handwritten looking font.
Oh, that's kind of great.
One of the interesting things about Magneto is actually his powers. They're kind of playing with the idea that he actually puts up magnetic shields and stuff like that, like a magnetic field. It's not just strictly telepathy with only metal in this. Whereas I feel like that's how it's usually portrayed these days.
It is now, yeah. Maybe it's changed over time.
Yeah, so they're doing a little bit of that. And he's going around, he's making the army look idiots. And then Jean's got her outfit on, the boys kind of walk in, and she's like, oh, can't I go get privacy in here? And they're like, don't be mad, we're just passing through. But then Professor X calls them, and it's like, hey, there's something happening at this base. It's weird. They actually mentioned that they all drive to the airport in Professor X's Rolls Royce. I thought that was an odd detail they wanted to point out.
Because Rolls Royces are cool as shit.
Yeah,
And it's like, hey, look how cool Professor X is.
Actually, there was another dated reference. Oh, where was it? It was Jean just in the page.
Wait,
before.
are you insinuating that Rolls Royces are dated?
The act of pointing it out like that feels dated to me.
Only because in today's comics we could look at it and go, yeah, that's obviously a Rolls Royce. We wouldn't need to be told because the art has been given a little bit more clarity.
Which is putting on our costume. Whoever designed this uniform could have given Christian Dior a run for his money. And I'm like, I have no idea who that is. 63.
I mean, as in Dior?
Dior? What's Dior?
Isn't, you know, perfume?
News to me.
You're not familiar with Dior perfume? It's like one of the biggest perfume brands in the world. It's in like the top 3.
Sorry. I assumed there was a fashion person.
It is. It's both. But I mean,
okay.
But you know that's what they mostly do now. Perfume.
Okay, fair enough. You learn something every day. Look at that. I thought it was like a dated reference to an actress or something like that. Like, who's this person? Anyway, so they got a plane, and they show up, and Cyclops is like, "Hey, the X-Men are here," and they're like, "Who's the X-Men?" It's like, "It's us." And then they all kind of there's basically
surprise.
There's a page where they all just kind of run through the soldiers and using their powers, and they all just kind of like, wait, that guy looks like ice. Wait, that guy's flying. Oh, Beast actually like jumped over one of the soldiers and used his head as a launching pad. Jean makes them float above her head as she runs through. And like, this is a bit over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so Magneto's there, and they the Cyclops is trying to beam his way through the magnetic shield. He does eventually get it. But Magneto launches a bunch of rockets, so Angel's trying to dodge them, and it's actually Bobby who like fires snow grenades, as he calls them, to block the rockets. And then Beast catches one with his feet, as you do.
Of course.
So yeah, so Magneto's all shocked. He's like, "Wow, these mighty antagonists, they'll never make the mistake again of underestimating the power. I'll be their master, blah, blah, blah." He's all doing this. And he's sneaking around. This is very comical. He actually, basically, when they don't know where he is, he sneaks behind this big, drum of what's labelled as rocket fuel and rolls it towards them while it's on fire.
As you do.
So Bobby makes an igloo shield. There's an explosion, and it turns out that on top of that, Cyclops also used his beam to build like a safety hole. So they come out.
I'm not going to question it.
So they come out. This is actually the end of the issue. Basically, Magneto flies off with his magnetic, abilities. And the army actually thanked them. And I was kind of laughing at this point because obviously one of the big things with the X-Men is that not everyone actually likes them that much, the public. So I was like, oh, it's kind of funny how in this first issue they're immediately like, oh, thank you, X-Men. And Cyclops like, if you ever need us again, the X-Men will be here when security is threatened or whatever. Although, notably, so keep in mind, this is just called X-Men issue 1. Uncanny X-Men wasn't a thing until the early 70s when they relaunched it, right? Mm-hmm. But the soldier at the end here, after after Angel lands, after Magneto flies off, it says, "Uncanny, your 15 minutes are not up yet." So the word "uncanny" is in here. So I almost wonder when they were relaunching it later if they actually went back
yeah, maybe.
See that? So yeah, it just ends with them flying home, and it's like, this is the first issue of the X-Men. Come back next time for more adventures. Blah blah blah. Despite me making fun of the dialogue between the guys and Jean, and a couple of the silly moments, I did kind of have fun reading this. It's got a Silver Age charm to it,
and presumably it has a great flow because
Kirby and Lee. I mean, the character's still likable enough, and even though Xavier's been kind of a dick, there's fun to be had, and the action's kind of fun. A bit goofy, but by today's standards and what they're doing, but I'm into it. I'm looking forward to issue 2 next month. So, thank you.
It's all right for some.
That was my Patreon pick for the month. Connor, however, did not have the same book. He was selected Generation X issue 1, written by Scott Lobdell and art by Chris Bacallo. Or Bachello, however you say his name.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't like his art.
This is going to go smoothly.
It's it's a little bit better here for the most part than it was in recent Spider-Man issues.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a different inker, but a little bit tighter.
It was interesting. Obviously,
For the most part.
I had like a lot of plot beats to go through, or a lot to like go through in terms of like because it's a Silver Age comic, so it's so overwritten, right? So there's a lot of
Yeah, but mine's a Lobdell comic, so
yeah, but you've got a '90s comic, so you have this other era. You have this.
I do. This is full of characters I don't know. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I got Goofy 60. You got Edgy 90s.
Yeah, this opens. It's dawn, and I say that because the establishing captions are so overdone. So I'm gonna get to more of those as we go on.
Okay. Well,
It's dawn.
The captions are overdone in the '60s comic, but I didn't feel like mentioning that because they're overdone in all '60s comics.
Yeah, no. This is constantly elsewhere, somewhere else. You know, all of these. Right, I'll get to them. I'll point them out whenever I come across them now.
Right. So Dawn's in the first page, and she's the sister to Buffy in the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I wish it was. No, this is no, this is it's a woman running. You know, she's on a morning jog, and got a lot of narration telling me that this is Paige Guthrie, and I don't know who this is. There's an entire caption box that just says she is a mutant. I'm not shitting you. That is a caption box here. This is Paige Guthrie, who has as little time for a sleep as she does for dreams. End caption box. New box. She is a mutant.
Okay.
I'm like, thanks for that. It's an X-Men book. I would never have guessed.
I could see that. No, I could see a caption box saying, she's a mutant working in certain contexts. Like if it's like almost like the twist at the end of a scene.
Yeah, but then it goes on to explain what a mutant is. It goes, nature's way of saying, here you go, a little something extra. Try harder. You've been given genetically altered abilities which separate you from the rest of human race. Deal with it. This is the first page. I'm actually gonna say I don't like the lettering. I rarely have a huge problem with the lettering. It's one of those things where unless it's doing something particularly amazing, I tend not to know. It fades in, it does its job, right? And that's what I would consider good lettering. I think there's a lot of ugly fonts in this book. But yeah, she's running, and then she's at the school. She runs into Jubilee. Jubilee's there.
Mm-hmm.
So we got one character that I know. We're on a start. 1 out of 2. Yeah, they just have a bit of an interaction of like, yeah. She's like, oh, how dare you be running in the morning? Why would you do something so horrible as that? And just like, yeah, I mean, it's all right. And this is where we learn what Guthrie's power is.
What's Guthrie's power?
She can shed her skin, and she has like a second body underneath. Because she's like, oh, I'm gonna go get ready for class, and Jubilee's like, oh, no, I don't think so. And she's like, I'll only be a second, and Jubilee's like, at least let me turn around. And she's like, there's nothing gross about my mutant ability to shed my outer skin for a new form underneath. I think it's pretty original. Yep, it's a real subtle writing there, Lobdell.
I got distracted there for a second. Sorry, I got an email about YouTube copyright things, and I was worried it was something serious.
Oh, not again.
No, it's just a confirmation that I've disputed the previous copyright strike. That's all.
YouTube. All right, I'll let you off.
But I saw the word copyright in YouTube. I was like, wait, what? What's happening?
Yeah, no. I was just saying how she pulled her skin off and said, she as she was pulling her skin off, she's saying, oh, there's nothing gross about my mutant ability to shed my skin for a new form underneath. And then a whole, speech bubble saying, I think it's pretty original. Like, yeah, I bet you do, Lobdell. I bet you think this is original.
You may not have created the character.
No, but it's just a smug line, isn't it? I mean, a lot of them are meant to be original. That's kind of the point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Jubilee thinks it's icky and doesn't want anything to do with it. That's kind of the point. And then another mutant shows up. She's flying. What's her name? Monet St. Croix. And it just says, possessed of a multitude of superhuman abilities, not the smallest of which are beauty and ego. So, turns out the 90s, not that much better than the 60s.
Oh dear.
Who'd have thought? Yeah, she's just really smug, and she can fly, obviously, but I'm not sure what the rest of her powers are because it doesn't really tell me. But then Banshee shows up because he's the headmaster right now, apparently. He's the man in charge, or as Lobdell says, theoretically, anyway. And it took me till quite a while into the comic as to understand why, because I went, are the kids the ones that are really running the show? And maybe this is just me, being out of the loop on what was going on in X-Men at the time. But the issue could have done a better job of setting it up. Because it made this dig here, right, when it introduced Banshee. Emma Frost's there as well. But it doesn't introduce her till a lot later. And she's like the second in command. And I get the implication later. It's like, oh, she's really the one in charge. Like, because she's doing her own thing. And I get it. But it was awkward in this bit here. I'm assuming Banshee is Scottish because the dialogue, or the dialect, I should say, feels extremely Scottish. You'd hate it.
Such as...
if and you are all prepared for your 7 a.m., there's a lot of ladies, lasses and laddies scattered throughout. It feels like really just these are Scottish things, right? But then he does a doll, like a Homer Simpson in there as well. I'm like,
yeah, that's not very Scottish.
No, it wasn't. But after that introduction, that's where we get our first cut to a different scene, where we get an elsewhere ... And I was willing to forgive that because I don't think too much of it because you're getting elsewhere every so often. We're on a plane, and something's going. This is where I really struggled with the art. There's a sequence here where there's a character who half of his face is dark, and like it looks like a night sky with stars. And I think that's supposed to be the effect, but I didn't understand what was happening with this. It was really surreal, and it basically doesn't tell much. It's just he's on the plane and he's got looking at someone invited to Xavier's Academy. And that's that sequence. One page, next page, someplace else ... And then we follow a guy whose name I can't remember. I'm sure it told me somewhere. He's like in like a jungle environment, and he's hunting someone. He's like, you realize it'd be easy if you give up and just concede defeat. And there's this train exercise, and then this guy steps out, and he's huge, and he's got huge fingers. Angelo, I think his name is. This guy, he's grey with huge big hands, and they're on a bit of a tussle. And I think the first guy, his powers, it keeps talking about his sync aura, and I think the idea is if he gets close enough to someone, he can copy their powers.
Okay.
I think that's the idea. It wasn't entirely clear. It kept pointing me at other issues to go and read, which obviously I didn't.
Where's the dedication?
Yeah. So
hey, Connor, if it came up in X-Men issue 1 that I had to go read another issue, I would have done it.
No, you wouldn't. Anyway, that goes on for 3 pages.
That was a joke because it's issue 1.
I got it.
They can't tell me to go read another book because it's the start.
They'd find a way. But that goes on for 3 pages, and then we get another establishing caption of "not too terribly far away." Yes, which actually made more sense the next page. I went, "What? That was a weird caption." It made more sense the next page because it's Jubilee, Guthrie, and Monet going in. We're going in with Banshee, and they've got their danger room. but essentially they went, yeah, that tech that we had in the danger room all rebelled or whatever. So this is an ecological biosphere that replicates it. And basically, the two people that we saw in the last scene were at the school. They were training, and they were in the danger room and having a bit of a tussle. And Banshee's like, that'll be more than enough of that, lads. Which fool came up with the idea to train against each other? The whole point was you learn your powers individually. This is where Emma Frost steps out. And it's like, that'll be me. I made the call. I thought they should do it this way. This is and then we get another cut. This is we actually get a location this time rather than a place. Oh no, we get both. Never mind.
We get a location rather than a place.
A location rather than just a vague.
Okay.
The others were all elsewhere, someplace else. This one actually gives me a location of a Logan International Airport, Boston, Massachusetts. And then it tells me somewhere just beyond the farthest runway. Yeah.
This is gold.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
We have this big car. I can tell you the brand. It looks like kind of like a big Cadillac sort of car. And you've got these demonic figures inside. One with a huge, big, pointy chin and big teeth. Classic demon-looking thing. And in the back seat, he's the driver. And in the back seat, it's hard to describe. I'm thinking demonic Lobo.
Okay.
But really shadowy and scratchy inks. And this is the stuff the stuff with these characters, I really hate the art because it's so scratchy and inky, and I can't stand it. It's basically just them confirming that they're up to something. They're looking for someone called Jonathan Starsmore, and that his plane will be arriving shortly. And then that's the end of the scene. Then we cut back to the academy, and they're off to go on a mission. Banshee's like, "Hey, why don't you come join me?" And he takes Jubilee with him. But Monet stays where she is. She's having fun climbing a tree, and doesn't feel like going. She wants to get the hang of the environment. Learn where she is, learn her way around the school. And Banshee's like, "All right, fair enough." But then when she goes, there's this guy appears. I say guy, he's a small little guy, sat on the floor, cross-legged. He's like, it's just his caption. So he may be older than time itself. Each time he is perceived to exist by any other sentient being, all this stuff. He's got no name, yet he is called Gateway. So he does have a bit of a name. Have a bit of a talk. She's like, "Hey, look, no, I appreciate all your training. I understand you've been a great mentor, but I think I can learn something from these X-Men fellas. Bit of diversity and all that." And then he doesn't say anything, by the way. She's just talking at him. And after a while, she's like, "Wait, this isn't about me. It's him. He's returned, hasn't he?" And this is another cutaway to back to the airport. And we're back to this demonic figure. He's walking around through the airport, and his whole thing is that he's a little bit out of sync with this dimension, so people don't really detect him. So he's walking around waiting for this John, I think it was. And next page, several feet and a world away. We got Banshee at the airport with a couple of the kids. They're here to pick up the mutant. We saw him on the plane earlier in the issue.
Mm-hmm.
He's got an invite to the school. They're here to pick him up.
Somewhere in the sky. Yes.
Yeah. M-Plate is that villain that I'm finding there. He's watching it and he's like, "Okay, I see him. I see what's going on here," and he starts attacking when he gets here. Naturally, Banshee and the other X-Men attack back. Bit of a tussle goes on. It's kind of rough. Guthrie runs in. Her name is Husk. Her mutant name. and he just slashes her across the front, and she drops down. And we have this what's supposed to be like a big moment, emotional moment, and Jubilee runs over to her. And it's like, oh no, and people are like, quick, get her to a hospital. And she's like, no, Jubilee's like, it's fine. I'm gonna do this for my friend. It'll be fine. And she just rips her skin off, and she's fine underneath. But she makes a big deal about how this is so icky, and she doesn't want to be doing this even to save her life. Not really.
Does she have a different appearance each time, or does it just have the same basic?
No, it's exactly the same.
Okay.
Yeah, it's exactly the same underneath. And then Monet shows up and starts to charge in at what did I just call him? Emplate? Yeah, that sounds about right. But she stops and she doesn't understand what's going on. And it's Emma Frost. She's stepped in and is like, hey, no, I saw what happened to Husk when she tried charging. What's the point in having that happen again? We'll just let him go and we'll deal with it. New page, new caption. Way away. And I say it like that because that's split over 2 separate boxes. And it's the template is there, and it's like years as sole sustenance. What am I to do without her? And then the driver's like, we'll find your meal ticket, sir. We'll sort it out. New scene above. That's the establishing caption above. And it's
new scene, new caption. Somewhere out there,
really?
There's a special place.
Really, you go in there?
Yeah.
No, and this is basically just Emma going, lighten up. It didn't go too badly. We got what we needed. And because there's company outside, and literally this is maybe the most egregious use of the establishing caption in the issue. Banshee goes to walk outside to see what it is, and he comes down the stairs. He's walking out towards the door, and then the next panel actually says outside. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panels after the last above.
Look, at least you can't say you're ever confused about the location that the events are taking place.
It's true. This is outside. And it's Gateway there causing up a bit of a fuss. And then for the first time, he says something. He says penance. And turns out it's actually a big deal because Banshee's like, wait, you spoke? You actually spoke? And someone says, I don't think he meant it as a verb, referring to her. And there's a woman lying. There's the big last page reveal is presumably penance is there on the ground. Something to look forward to see who penance is.
Yeah, you can look forward to that.
Yeah, I can.
This is the best. I actually quite enjoyed hearing about this, to be honest.
So many establishing captions. It was when I got above and then outside. He's walking outside. Someone said, oh, there's something going on outside. And he's like, right, I'll go and have a look at that. I see him walk towards a door. I don't need one telling me he's now outside.
Very few new scenes actually need a caption explaining where it is.
If it's a drastic location shift, sure. The elsewhere at first I was willing to forgive because that's just a of the time thing, right? But this went too far. Way too far.
I mean, it's
as this book puts it, way far.
That will move us on, though, to the final part of the show, where we pick our favourite things of the week. We do our best panel/moment, best art, best cover, and top 5 books of the week. So, here we go. Connor, what was your panel/moment?
I'm actually going to go from Wolverine Long Night, and it's the Langrock kid holding up the knife with that grin with the bear, he's just enjoying it.
Oh, yeah.
That was great.
I think I'm going to go with X-23. I kind of want to go with the fastball special.
I get it. It's a good choice.
So it's an easy pick, but I'm going with it.
I'm not going to argue with that.
What's your cover of the week?
I'm going to go with the Do you know what? I'm actually going to give it to Wolverine Long Night again. I think that's a great cover.
I do like the Buffy cover again, but I'm not going to give it to it this time because
I haven't seen it because I don't like the Buffy covers, so I got the variant again. I got the it's Giles this issue.
The variant was, or the main one was Cordelia.
Yeah.
So I'm tempted. I mean, Long Night's very good. I'm also tempted by Winter Soldier, actually.
Yeah, Winter Soldier's not bad. I think Long Night's just a little bit more striking for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to say Long Night as well, actually. I hate to pick the same thing, but
it's a good cover, though.
That's
isn't
what it is. Best art of the week.
Blackbird.
Ah, yes. It's between Wolverine and Buffy for me.
Both good choices.
I'll go with Buffy. It's more, I think, fun. Although Wolverine has a good atmosphere, but I'm going to go with Buffy for the fun. So top 5 books of the week.
So number 1 is Blackbird. Number 2 is Wolverine Long Night. 3 is Buffy. 4 X-23. 5 Spider-Man.
Okay, my number 1 is Buffy issue 3. My number 2 is X-23. My number 3 is Wolverine The Long Night. My number 4 is Magnificent Miss Marvel. And number 5 is Spider-Man. There you go. Top 5s. I mean, I only read 6, so I was just deciding which one I'm leaving out of the new books. That is obviously the Patreon picks do not count for that last section, but that is that. So that leaves me to tell you what's coming next week, and as per usual,
subject to change.
It's very subject to change because these schedules slip so much. They really do. But at least according to the last time I updated this, coming next week we have Avengers 17, Immortal Hulk 15, Thor 11's out. Will we talk about it? Will I be up to date? Probably not. War of the Realms. I'm going to be called for War of the Realms. I'll do it.
God, you're such an awful person.
You can talk about it.
There's no point spoiling it for you at this stage.
I can take my headphones off. You can talk about Thor 11.
It's fine.
Captain America 9, Uncanny X-Men 14, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue 4, Miles Morales Spider-Man issue 4, Captain Marvel 3, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, plus you've got Venom 12, Star Wars 63. Spider-Man Life Story issue 1's out from Zarsky. I might give that a try. I mean, there's a lot of books next week, but...
first thing I'm noticing when I'm glancing, I'm not seeing Captain America.
Really? I mean, that doesn't surprise me. That's been pushed around a few times. So you got that. And then in terms of other stuff, we apparently have Lazarus Risen issue 1. I didn't see Skyward on the Diamond, actually, when I was looking at them the other day, so Skyward might have moved.
Skyward must have pushed, yeah, it's not there now.
Firefly Bad Company issue 1 is out next week, which I may or may not read. It's a one-shot that doesn't seem that relevant to the main book. So
you might do it anyway because you're a sucker.
That may be an easy cut. Invisible Kingdom, G. Willow Wilson.
Yes, new Horse book.
Dark Horse, yeah.
Dark Horse.
Yeah, it's Dark Horse, yeah. So at least at the time of recording, that's what we're expecting next week. As always, though, there might be things that have snuck out of the schedule that we've not noticed, and vice versa. But that's what we think we're doing next week. So by all means, of course, let us know what you thought of the books that we talked about on this week's show. You can like and subscribe, all that stuff. That supports us, as does, of course, going to Patreon over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can support us over there for as little as $1 per month. You can buy merch in the stores, US and UK stores at Spreadshirt. There's links in the description below. You can have a look at that. If you ever want to just do like a one-time donation kind of thing, you can do that when we're streaming live on the YouTubes with the super chats. There's also a donation link as well. You can donate through Streamlabs now. There's a nice handy link for that too. But you can just, support us all these different ways. All of it's appreciated, but of course you can just show up, watch, and like and subscribe and all the rest of it. Rate on your podcast app of choice. All of these things do help. So is there anything else to tell you about? If you haven't checked out our Captain Marvel review, Connor wasn't on it, but me, Matt, and Tim talked about the Captain Marvel movie. Make sure you check that out as well.
The only thing I would say is this month has been Batman month.
That's true.
And we reviewed a lot of Batman movies.
We did. We reviewed 2 Burton movies, 2 Schumacher movies, and all 3 Nolan movies. Not all of which are up, but they're mostly up now. There's 2 left for the public and 1 left for Patreon.
But I imagine anyone who's here for a comic book show will be interested in at least some of those.
Yes, although be prepared for some salt in some of the earlier entries.
Yeah, maybe skip straight to the Nolan ones if you
want positivity.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is but elsewhere on the Multiverse, episode 11. Thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading comics. Keep reading Marvel comics. But remember that assembly is required.